Hey, good morning, Eastern Oregon, and welcome to this June 17th version of AM Live on EOA. Your connection to Eastern Oregon, we're glad that you are here. If you want to find our content, you can go to EOA.network. That takes you to a link tree where you can find the location of our YouTube and Facebook, our Roku channel, our website, and so on and so forth. So be sure and check that out. Tell your friends about it, EOA.network. Here in just a little bit, we are going to have Jake Seavert, Union County Commissioner. He just started a few months ago, and we're going to catch up with him, see how he's doing. How are you, man?
Good morning.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Second Monday.
Yeah.
Grinding away.
I know it. So, what's
Weather's
new?
been pretty decent,
Yeah.
I think. I mean, I don't care if it gets too hot, but, I mean, ideally, 80's about, maybe a little warmer, but
Yeah.
I can live with it as long as it's not raining. On Friday night, it freaking poured for about 15 minutes, like poured.
Yeah, out in Island City, I was just getting home about that time. In an Island City, it hailed just for a couple of minutes.
That's
It was
wild.
like, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was literally like, I don't know, I would say the lightning was within 5 miles, probably maybe a little closer than that.
Huh.
And Stu and Duncan were umpiring the baseball game. God, what a combination that is, for crying out loud. And Duncan, everybody in the dugout. I mean, he missed the first one because I was, as soon as I heard the thunder, I count, I'm like,
Yeah.
as soon as I see the lightning, counting, checking to see how far it is away, and he missed the first one because it was well within 10 miles. And the second time, everybody in the dugout, and it literally poured for almost, probably 2/3 of the 30 minutes that you have to stay off the field,
Oh,
'cause
really?
there's a rule where
For a while.
if it's in within 10 miles, after the last strike, you have to go a half an hour, and then the kids can go back out. And it was pouring. Like I got soaked just being out. I mean, thankfully I put all my camera stuff in the clubhouse.
Uh-huh.
And usually I put it in the snack bar, but snack bar wasn't open. So I put it in the clubhouse, and I put the little camera bag inside the dugout, like around here.
Yeah.
Like I had a feeling it was going to rain, and I wasn't, thankfully I did, because usually I'll just grab it when it starts to rain.
Right.
You know what I mean? But
Right.
thankfully I did it beforehand, because it literally would have got soaked.
Huh.
Like, yeah, it was wet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so were there people in the stands? Where did
Yeah.
they go?
They go to their cars for the most part. They leave. They go to the store. Like I know a couple of the dads like come. Hey, you guys need anything to drink? Like
Because they know it's going to be at least a half an hour.
a half an hour. Yep.
Yeah.
That's the rule.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Fun.
All right. Well, hey, you want to do sports?
Let's do it.
All right.
AM Sports Report brought to you by Oxark and LeGrand. Go see them for all your industrial gas, hydraulic hose, welding supplies, safety supplies, and rigging needs. 10001 May Lane, 541-963-2890. Oxark and LeGrand. The 18U Legion team played this last weekend in the Hodgin Memorial Tournament. They went 1-1 over there in Pendleton. We didn't get a lot of updates because there's a lot of stuff going on this weekend, but the 16U Legends played Baker on Friday night down at Optimist. They ended up getting both ends of that doubleheader, as the first came easily. They ended up calling the first game after 6 innings because of that ring delay. LeGrand was up by like 10 runs or 9 runs or something like that. And then the second game, LeGrand ended up walking it off in the 7th. It was 11-11 with 2 outs in the bottom of the 7th, bases loaded, and Baker walked in the game-winning run. Schedules for both Legion teams are kind of up in the air right now. I don't have one. Nobody has one, and they're still working on it, and I'll let you know as soon as I hear more about it. LeGrand will be hosting the District 3 All-Star Tournament in about a week, and they still need volunteers. Head to our Facebook feed. You'll find a single picture of a LeGrand Little League softball players. That picture right there. On that post, there's a link. You can click that link, and then you can go and sign up to be a scorekeeper, pitch counter, clean bathrooms, rake the field, all the jobs, concessions, and you can volunteer right there with LeGrand Little League. They have a whole lot of games from Monday through the next weekend that they need help with. So go to that link and check it out. Although he didn't get to play because of a broken orbital bone, which happened on Friday in that Pendleton game, Bryce Pennington represented LeGrand in the Oregon 4A All-Star baseball game as a member of Team South over the weekend at North Marion High School. South team clinched Game 1 with a 5-1 victory, while the North bounced back to take Game 2, and then South won the game on Saturday, so they took 2 out of 3. They won that game 8-5. So Pendleton and LeGrand players ended up getting 2 out of 3 there. Bryce didn't get to play though. Like I said, he went to bunt on Friday, and the ball came off the bat and hit him in the face and broke his orbital bone. The good thing about that break, I've broken that bone before. You don't have to miss any. I mean, you miss until you can see, so your eye will swell shut, but as soon as you can see, you're right back to playing because there's nothing they can do for that. You can wear a mask if, to protect it, but it's not like breaking an arm or a leg where you can't, walk or throw or, so that, I guess that's the good part about it. Something that really sucks. This week I sat down with LHS and Shrine cheerleader Kendall DeYoung. And that interview is going to come out here in probably tomorrow. I keep pushing it, but I'm going to try to get it out tomorrow. Here, take a little peek. As far as your best memory of cheerleading, what is it so far?
Probably UCA camp. Last summer we went down to Great Wolf Lodge for about a week, and it was just fun to spend time with my team and other cheerleaders.
Yeah. So that team aspect, you don't get that same team aspect in equestrian, do you?
No.
What was that something like that you were looking for in life? Because a lot of kids, like especially at that age, need some sort of social, like team, basically. Yeah. Would you say that was something good for you?
Definitely, yes.
Yeah, I think cheerleading does a lot for, and I'll say young men as well now, but young ladies' self-esteem too, as long as it's done right. There are times when it can be like pretty bad and detrimental, but when it's done right, the team's done right, it's a really good positive, uplifter for young ladies. Are you going to keep cheering?
Yeah.
You are?
Yeah.
What's your plans?
I'm going to continue at Eastern Oregon University.
So you're going to cheer for Heather?
Yep.
Yeah, I've known her for a long time. I mean, I've had the whole EOU cheer team on my show before, which your cousin, we'll talk about her real fast. She was a cheerleader at EOU, Megan Demersion, and she also worked for us. She did she did the news for us for like 6 months, 8 months, right before she moved to Portland. And she's a heck of a in her footsteps.
Yeah.
EOU, huh? What's your what are you going to school for? What do you want to be?
I want to be a math teacher.
You do?
Yeah.
Math's my favorite subject. I'm good at it. And I love math because there's always an answer.
Right.
It's not like where there's all this stuff where, I hypothesize this, and it's 6 plus 8 is 14, and 14 minus 8 is 6, and you can always work your way back and forth. That's why I like math. What about Shrine? How did you find out about that? What was that process like?
My coach Kimberly told me about it. She said there's opportunities for cheerleaders, and she just encouraged me to do it.
And you were the only senior on LeGrand this year, right?
Yep.
So you're going to represent LeGrand with about 20 other girls for the East?
Yeah.
That's going to be a little bit different of an experience for you. The lady that runs it, she's amazing, and it's a whole week of fun. I hope you're ready for that because it really is. They make sure that you guys have a good time. AM Sports Report brought to you by Oxark in LeGrand. Go check them out. 10001 May Lane or call 541-963-2890.
All right. Thanks, Ben.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's take a look at the weather.
What's it look like out there? We already cheated this all.
So CHD is our weather sponsor, Developmental Disabilities. We appreciate their sponsorship. So yeah, it looked pretty out there.
Looks sunny.
The wind's blowing a little bit. I had a little bit of a drone flying I had to do yesterday, so I'm glad I did it yesterday and not today. So yeah, let's look at that graphic, Bennett. So 82 today, 49 tonight. And then, wow, and then Friday and Saturday, the high is 64, Saturday 56. So it's going to cool down a little bit, and showers.
Yeah.
Looks like there's going to be a little bit of rain over the weekend, and then
Get it out of the way because that tournament starts on Sunday.
Does it?
Yeah, they have one game on Sunday,
Yeah.
and then it's a game because of traveling issues or something, and then
Yeah.
it really starts Monday.
Yeah. All right. Again, appreciate our sponsor, CHD Developmental Disabilities. And that gives you the information on how to report the abuse of vulnerable adults that you might see. Appreciate you keeping an eye out for that. All right, we'll be back in just a minute with Union County Commissioner Jake Seavert.
Eastern Oregon is full of interesting people, with interesting minds and interesting things to say. Here at EO Live, we're committed to connecting you to these intriguing people with EO Talks. We let our special guests share their ideas and life experiences with deep, open, engaging, and inquisitive conversations. You'll also be informed in depth on some of the most recent and relevant events, issues, and more. EO Talks on EO Live, your connection to Eastern Oregon, now on Roku. Here in Eastern Oregon, we're blessed to live in such a wonderful area. And though it may seem mild-mannered, there's actually quite a lot that goes on in this area. And apparently, there's two dinguses who happen to be here that are actually crazy enough to get up at the crack of dawn to talk about it. Tune into AM Live on EOA with Brent and Dodsey, featuring special guests, weather, sports, news, and more, every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 a.m., only on EOA Live, your connection to Eastern Oregon, now on Roku.
All right, we're back. Commissioner Seavert. Does that sound strange still every once in a while?
Every day you wake up, the imposter syndrome kicks in.
Well, hey, man, glad you're here. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
It's a
good.
pleasure to be here with you guys.
So how many months has it been now?
5
Yeah.
and a half, maybe?
So almost half a year,
Yeah, pretty close.
and it's just like gone by quick, has it?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you still discovering new things that you're responsible for that you didn't know?
No.
No.
Pretty much have got them lined out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. What would you say? I mean, I know you've had a lot of. I mean, the whole thing has just been like a mind rush. What's one of the biggest surprises that you think you've experienced through the thing?
Oh, man. I'm going to have to say probably dealing with emergencies or disasters.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we don't make hands-on decisions, but everything engulfed around that, as far as possibly getting involved with the press. And, if you have a natural disaster, take, for instance, like if you have flooding like they did in Harney County, you're going to get phone calls directly to you from the governor, possibly, or senators, or, and so that was kind of a shock to learn that hopefully we don't have to deal with that, but
Yeah.
at some point, and then to be able to answer questions to the press. And
Because you're kind of water and, I mean, explain that a little bit more. Who would, in what cases would they be reaching out?
Well, and that's just kind of the gist of it right there is they'll probably reach out to all of us all at once.
Yeah.
And, even though we all kind of have our wheelhouses or lanes that we stay in,
They don't
as
know
far
that.
as
Yeah.
they don't know that.
Yeah.
And collaboratively as a group, we need to make those decisions in those circumstances.
Yeah.
So not just one individual, but that's kind of the case of it.
Yeah. Well, and then in the emergency preparation, is that part of the surprise too? Just the amount of stuff that you don't even know that they're prepared for?
Yeah, and it's been surprising to know. We're fortunate. You've had Nick Vora on the show several times.
Yeah, and he's an amazing.
I try not to brag on him too much because I don't want someone to come in and
Right.
scoop him up because, he is amazing. Not only here for our county, but regionally and statewide, they really rely on Nick for all his experience and knowledge in that field. But it's good to have someone in place like that because I feel that we're probably going to handle any emergency very well because he has done all of the preparedness, lining out grants to bring in equipment. I don't know if they're down there yet, but they were supposed to be, I think last week, parking 2 convex containers down at the fairgrounds loaded with supplies if we ever had a natural disaster. He's done a lot to prepare this county for any natural disaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's,
Evacuating. I think they run an evacuation drill at some of the retirement homes the other day.
yeah, he was telling us about that. Yeah.
It's things that you don't think about, but you might have to go through, and so to run through those once or twice, it's helpful.
Yeah. Well, let's take a look real quick at some of the pictures that you sent me recently, and we'll just kind of go. This is you and Kim. Is that her name?
No, that is Commissioner Collier from Malawi County.
Oh, okay.
We happened to be down there early on a Thursday morning and thought we'd go sit in on the floor and watch Senate Bill 9, which Commissioner Collier was very instrumental in, and that was the DMV bill. So Bobby, Rep. Levy, took a picture of us from the floor just before she recognized us in the balcony, so that was good.
Nice. All right.
That was good.
Yeah.
And then when I was down there earlier in February, I was able to be invited by Senator Nash there to sit on the floor of the Senate side and be introduced. And that was kind of a predicament there. I didn't know, and I don't think Senator Nash really knew, but once they start voting on things, there cannot be any other elected officials on the floor.
Oh.
So, he got called up to the bench and was told that it was appropriate for me to leave now after they had voted on a thing or two. And so, yeah.
Just keep going, Benny. Rolling through this.
That was good. And then Friday we had the opportunity to go over to the Oregon National Guard there in Pendleton for their Labor Summit. And surprisingly, that there is Dan Landa and Cody Vela. They run the local Eastern Oregon Veterans Group here.
Yeah.
And they were recognized for all of their efforts in getting veterans together and doing what they do and supporting each other. And it couldn't have been more well-deserved. And I was glad I was there for that.
Yeah.
To see them get recognized. And then part of that Labor Summit, we got to fly in a Chinook CH-47 helicopter. And
Yeah. And that's not you out
that
there.
is no way, no how. You wouldn't catch me.
They would never let you out there.
Well,
Never that, but even if they were like, hey, you want it? I'd be like, no, thank you.
You'd
Yeah,
never catch me in that thing.
I was
period.
gonna
You
say
see that strap? That is all that's like between him and 500 feet of space. And I just think, here's my mentality. Someone made that strap. Do I
Does
trust
he have
the
a
guy?
parachute on too?
No.
No?
Do I trust that guy that made that strap? No.
No way. I don't trust the guy that made the helicopter. Let alone the strap.
Yeah, you look at them things and it's just a big hunk of metal with 2 big engines on them. But no, it was a great opportunity. They
keep going there, Benny.
flew us up from Pendleton to Hermiston. and then we kind of circled around to there's the Columbia River, headed back east.
Huh.
And then they kind of hit about that Cold Springs, Juniper Canyon area and shuttled us back into Pendleton there. But
Yeah.
what an amazing experience. That whole day was great. They were showcasing the skills that Oregon National Guards men and women have, you know, and what they would bring to the table to
Yeah, keep going there, Ben.
potential
Okay.
employers, you know, and I mean, there's a lot of opportunity when you go into the Army to come out with very good skills. Very good skills. They'll, you know, a helicopter mechanic.
Yeah.
I mean, you come out into the private sector and go work on helicopters, I'm pretty sure you could make a pretty darn good living.
Right. Yeah.
You know, electricians, engineers. You get all that training while being at the National Guard, and then of course, you know, the opportunity for assistance for your school, you know, for schooling, for college. So no, they've got a great ROTC program up here at the college. They got, I think he said, about 8 to 11 students involved in that. So it's a small group, but
Yeah.
willing to grow on that. And so they work. So the ROTC, they'll work with these guys to get them through college, and they'll come out with a officer ranking into the Guard.
Oh, cool.
Great opportunities.
Well, good. So now that you've been in it for a while, have you formulated some things in your mind, some goals personally?
Yes. And I've started to kind of work on them. I'm bringing to the county a couple pieces of I'd say one would be a resolution that'll hit sometime in July. I'm not going to say too much on that. And then, and as a group of new commissioners, when we meet down there for county college, we've started this kind of wolf caucus, dealing with the wolves. Wallowa County really had a hard time this spring, and so we just asked those involved in the, in the county college, doesn't matter what part of the state you're from, we got together, we held one meeting, and since then, that was about was that a month? Month ago, we've already had 3 calls, or 6 weeks ago, we've already had 3 calls, meetings together, and we're getting some legislation and support going at the federal level and state level. Commissioner Frank out of Harney County put together a resolution that we're going to send back to NACO, their big convention in July, and we're going to sign on to a letter that we'll send back to the legislation at the federal level back in D.C., explaining why wolves need to be delisted, and I believe that was what, HR 845, that's what it was. So, I mean, it was good and collaborative to get kind of involved with that. Another thing I'm working on, when all these ideas, right, I feel bad for Commissioner Anders and Commissioner Scarfo, because when I get back from county college and I learn all these things,
Right.
I'm just like, boom. They, I'm sure, enjoy it. Every time we're probably mark it on their calendar. Oh, Jake's going to be back from county college this Monday. What's he going to bring to the table? But it's a good opportunity. A gal, Digit McCracken, she works for Oregon Extension, OSU Extension. She's their youth and CTE program director. She gave a talk about how she put on a trades fair at Grant County. And I thought, man, what a wonderful opportunity. We don't have anything like that in our county. So I made it a goal to try and assemble a committee and group and try and get a trades fair put together. And so far it's coming along well. The reason I chose that is, I support those kids that want to go to college, definitely, but I think there's a significant portion of those that don't want schooling, further education. They want to go into the workforce. And when we were campaigning, Brent, I mean, how many times was it brought up about jobs and getting our youth back to our community? They go and learn a trade and get them back into our community with good family wage jobs, and there's that opportunity there. I've tried to call plumbers and electricians the last couple of years, and they're so busy. There's just a lack of of help there. You could go to any tractor dealership in this valley right now today, and if you had a mechanic, background, I mean, they would hire you, pick you up just like that. So that brought it to my mind. I mean, what a great opportunity to promote that trade sector and get those kids and people back to our county and with good family wage jobs. And the other reason it sparked my interest is we'll leave. Actually, my son will get done with Wyotech this week. He graduates there with a diesel and advanced diesel mechanic degree. And during that,
Wyotech, Wyoming?
Yep, that's
cool.
in Laramie.
Yep.
Basically a 2-year program condensed into 9 months. And he'll come back and he'll have a good wage job. It cost him a little money, but what doesn't, right? Your
Right.
return on investment. But during that whole process, we didn't know the pathway. I kind of heard, I kind of knew about Wyotech because I had a couple of classmates in high school. That's where they went, and they've become very successful. But as far as, that was 25 years ago. And what's the pathway? What are, how do we get there? And so how do these kids get into a apprenticeship program in heating and cooling, or how do they, is there opportunity on the railroad? What opportunities are there, carpentry, running equipment? How do they get the training to go operate heavy equipment, And so I just want that opportunity for these kids that are coming out of high school and don't want to go to college, give them an opportunity and give them more options rather than pumping gas or, working
Absolutely.
for McDonald's.
Yeah.
And that's a skill or trade that no one can take away from you for the rest of your life. You'll
Yeah.
always be employable.
Yep. Well, and that is super good. That's the, they're definitely, and when I talk to, Mark Browning from
Blue Mountain.
Blue Mountain, thank you. I'm going to sneeze, or it felt like I was going to sneeze, and it blew my circuits. Anyhow, he's talked about how that over and over again, how it's not necessarily college education, but everybody needs further education, further training, and so that's awesome. That's really good. So what is a trade? What kind of a fair did you call it?
It's a trades career fair.
Okay, and what does that look like? What do people do?
So we've nailed down the location. We're going to have it out at the stock show grounds in Union. That
Okay.
way it gives us some space to bring in maybe some trailers with some simulators in them, maybe have some equipment on site that these kids can look at and get a feel for. Obviously we're going to have vendors there from Blue Mountain, Treasure Valley, Wyotech, Walla Walla. All these programs, all these junior and community colleges have great welding and mechanic programs available, and we're going to have some HVAC and carpentry unions. OSP. You don't have to have a college degree to become a state trooper.
Right.
Union Pacific, and we're going to invite these local wood production facilities because they struggle right now too finding employers. Shoot, Dodzy, I remember back in the day, when we were in high school, them were sought after jobs, and you had to know somebody
In order to get
get
into
a
it,
job
yeah.
pulling green chain at Boise Cascade,
Yeah.
and now they just are
Can't even
struggling.
find people to do it.
Yeah, it's what a shift, and
Yeah.
there's great opportunity there. I think if a guy come out of high school right now with a little ambition, especially post-COVID, right there, there was opportunity to move up the chain if you showed a lot of ambition and effort, and I feel that's the way it is with these trades right now, and what an opportunity to go learn to be an electrician and one day have your own business employing people.
Right.
So anyways, so we're going to have a lot of vendors like that. I've got a committee put together. I'm working good with the workforce board and the ESDs. They're my contacts to all the schools. We're inviting the kids from Wallowa County down. I don't believe that they have that opportunity in Wallowa County, And for them to go somewhere to get that opportunity is a pretty big lift. I'm hoping that we're going to be close enough to involve those. We get all the local schools involved, juniors and seniors. That way they can start thinking about what pathways they need to take to go where they want to go.
That's awesome.
Yep. I think we've got a date set. It's October 15th. Yeah, so if anybody out there, is interested in participating or volunteering, we'd be happy to have you. But it's coming together pretty well.
Cool.
It's kind of a big lift to think about this in March, April, and then try and get it put on in October. But I think we're going to get it done.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, that's fun. What other ideas comes back from Commissioner College that is like, man, I wish we could do something like that.
That was probably the biggest one. That's the biggest one that's really struck me. I wouldn't say I've come back with any more ideas of, boy, we need to do that. I need to learn more about that,
Right.
For instance, I didn't know the county was mandated to have a veterans program, right? And so I'm sitting there at County College going, okay, I know there's a VA up there on 12th Street, but that's not a county deal. That's a national deal. But who handles our veterans? So during class, I'm texting Paul and Scarfo and going, hey, where's our veterans?
Right.
And it's tied in with the CHD.
Right.
And I kind of assume that, but I didn't know that kind of stuff. So
Right.
that prompts me to come back and learn more about that program.
Right.
Even though Commissioner Scarfo that's his liaisonship was with CHD, and that includes public health, mental health, and the veterans program. But I still feel like I'd like to learn more about it, see how
Right.
that program's running, get out there and talk to the veterans and see, if there's any issues or concerns. So it's stuff like that. And it's typically one thing like, do we have a natural resource plan was one of them. I mean, that's kind of my wheelhouse.
Yeah. What's a natural resource plan?
So basically, it's developed by the Planning Commission and the department head of planning, and they just kind of go through and designate, our areas, forest, and how we should see some of that be managed, and just kind of gives a pretty good explanation of what natural resources are available to us in this county, and they kind of list out some management on that, so that it can be kind of used as a tool for agencies, state or federal, to come in and see what we're doing with our natural resources. But I didn't know that we had one. I guess we do have one, so that I took a look at it, and I think we're going to open it back up and do some revisions, and that's kind of another one of my goals that I had coming into this position, was to put in our own county wolf plan, and stick that in natural resources. That way we can kind of give agencies our idea of what a successful wolf management plan is for our county.
So what influence do we have over what plan would our difference make? What us having a plan, how would that change things?
It's not going to dictate in stone this and that. They don't have to abide by it.
Right.
But at least it outlines what we feel is sustainable levels
Okay.
of wolf population in our county.
Okay.
And so hopefully when we're going to start this process soon, is to revise the state wolf conservation management plan, and that's up for renewal in 2028. But we're going to get a start on it now once we get our county management plan and it can influence
Right.
how they manage or write that plan and revise that plan.
That makes sense.
How does that plan come about? The county, like you said, what we feel is a sustainable wolf management plan. Who's we, and how does it come about?
Well, and that's so. That's a very good question, Dodzy. As that Wolf Caucus of young commissioners, we've all got together and talked about it. Well, Iowa County started putting theirs in place. I took that plan and I dictated it for Union County. Now, that doesn't mean I'm in charge of it, but I'll propose it during one of our commissioner meetings or work session. I think it's going to be a work session, and we'll sit and discuss it as a group of commissioners. And then we'll be able to hold, hopefully, some public hearing and
Like town
gain the
hall or
support
something.
of the community. You know, I truly feel like, I mean, the wolves aren't going away, but I feel like we're saturated in population right now. And that affects a lot of things. I mean, you look at wildlife management and
It's tough.
and these livestock producers. They're not dispersing through the state quick enough as I think the biologists suspected.
Well, and I went to a wolf listening session. It's probably been a year ago now, or a little bit longer, with Cliff Bentz over in Pendleton, and you might have been there. I can't remember. Yeah, and the one thing that came out of that was what is the number of wolf? What is the number that the state? You know, I mean, the state has a number for every wildlife that there is. You know, so then if you're managing elk, then you've got to have a number of the amount of elk that a particular area can maintain. You know, there's a number for all of these things, but there wasn't a number for wolves.
And there still isn't.
Right, and which is a super fair question. I mean, it doesn't matter how you cut it. It is, okay, what is the number, you know?
How many is too many?
How many is too many?
That's what Bentz has said
Right.
this whole time.
Right.
But if you look at it right now, the latest counts are like 204 wolves statewide. And we have 50 to 60 that have been counted in our county. So a quarter of the population is right here.
Yeah.
I'll guarantee you 80% of the population, total population, is in Baker, Union, and Wallowa County. That's,
Right.
I mean, that's a small pocket of Oregon.
Right.
I mean, they are getting more popular in central
Well,
and
they aren't
southern
going to
Oregon.
go. They aren't going to leave here. There's food here.
Right.
Yeah.
They aren't going to go to places where there's not deer and elk.
And no one's pushing them away.
Yeah, and we
right.
can't
There's
shoot 'em.
no,
Yeah.
they don't, and now you know they're seeing that dynamic of wolf packs have changed. Now you'll see them intermingling because it used to be very territorial.
Huh, interesting.
You know, they'll have pack battles. You've seen that on National Geographic. I at least have, and you just don't see near that anymore. There's some intermingling.
Well, and yeah, so super fair question. It was funny. I watched a national news story the other day on California, and they were talking about managing their wolf population, and they passed a very similar bill to what I think maybe it was passed, you know, that where the wolf compensation. So then, but I mean, as liberal as California is, they're having the same issues, and they have figured out that they have to help manage those wolves, you know. So, I mean, this isn't an inappropriate conversation. This isn't, I mean, this is kind of a no-brainer.
Colorado's having heck now.
Yeah.
You know, since they've reintroduced them wolves there. California's really struggling with it, that Northern California. California is at least, their Fish and Wildlife program is at least offered an online tool for producers that they can get GPS readings of these wolves and kind of get a general vicinity of where they're at. I personally don't think
That's only the ones that have collars, though.
it's the only ones that have collars, but the other part is that radius that they show, it's a 4 or 5 mile radius. So it's not
that's
as very
not real
accurate.
effective.
And I think they brought it up in one of our discussions the other day. There's like 15 wolves collared and you only see 5 on the map, you
Right.
know. So, I mean, there needs to be some tools to better manage them for sure. But at least California stepped up that way. Washington's got a program now in that they can, you can sign off on a confidentiality agreement for data sharing. So you sign off and they'll give you access to the collar data. So you can, you know, do more non-lethal preventative measures.
And a rancher would use that because he'd be able to look at that and go, wow, that my herd is here. This is where this pack is. And he'd be able to use that intelligence to at least to know that there might be some danger involved.
Yep, make a presence,
Yeah.
make a presence, a human
Yeah.
presence, and
Yeah.
try and discourage anything.
Yeah. Well, that's
wild.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Has the college, has the commissioner college, has that been a head swim for you? I mean, do you come back exhausted every time? I mean, what's that like?
No, it hasn't been too overwhelming, but what a valuable program, though, as a new commissioner stepping into this role. It's optional. It's not mandatory, obviously, but fortunately, through the Ford Foundation, they offered a scholarship for all of us that are rural commissioners to attend. So thankfully, they pay for my travel, my per diem, my lodging, and the tuition for this program through AOC. But they go through segments, you know. One session might be totally on public health, mental health, and public safety. Then the next one might be natural resource focused. Oregon Department of Forestry, Extension, Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. So they kind of group it together to where you have similar. And so it's been helpful to just grasp your mind around everything, but it doesn't feel like you're getting the fire hose approach.
Yeah.
But it's been super valuable, the networking with other newly elected commissioners and seeing what's going on in their county across the state. And it's pretty surprising that we truly are blessed to live where we live in Union County.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we're fiscally conservative. We have great department heads in place. I mean, we're truly blessed, because I know of a couple other counties right now that they're totally disassembling departments and restructuring everything. I mean, it is just a completely overhaul of the county program, and it's like, wow, I'm glad we don't have to do that.
Yeah.
We're pretty darn fortunate, and we just got done with budget, you know, last month, and we'll approve that next week at our commissioner meeting. But everything lines up. I mean, every budget is balanced, and there's some contingency funds in a lot of them departments that we're in a good position.
Yeah.
We're in a very good position. Now, we can always use more money.
Right.
We can always spend more money, but we're in a good spot.
Well, and when I was running, and even still, it's hard to get your mind around the vastness, and not just only the vastness of the county, but of all of the different departments. And I mean, we were driving out the other day, and it's like, this is a county road. This is maintained by, or all of that road, sometimes it's a highway and part of it's maintained by, the state of Oregon, and but all of that stuff has to be calculated and figured out and maintained. And what a gigantic head swim that is.
Yeah, I would think that since you brought up roads, if we could use more funding, that would be the department we're in.
Yeah.
Obviously, we took some cuts there. I think Commissioner Anders talked about, but and that's one thing that I kind of stirred the pot a little bit at the national level and local level of penning some letters to Merkley, Wyden, Bentz, Governor Kotek, Senator Nash, Levy. I just threw it out there, and it got some attention because we need to better manage our public lands. For lots of reasons. Everything that I've looked at, whether elk in the valley on damage to our farmers' crops, I think is from loss of habitat. Too much cover reduces the grasses underneath in that canopy. Then I look at forest health as far as fuel. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when this. I look at Mount Emily every year and be like, we could wake up tomorrow and that thing be a charred landscape.
I was up morel hunting a couple of weeks ago, and I was just like, my gosh.
It's dry, isn't it?
And just all the down timber everywhere, literally everywhere. You can walk for miles.
Yeah.
And for every 3 trees, there's one down and dead. Like, I'm probably not quite that many, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, they're everywhere up there. And I'm thinking to myself, like, why aren't we getting in here and slashing this out and, you know, cleaning this up? Because it's gonna be gnarly when it hits.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how we skated by last year, you know, with all the big fires in Oregon, and I just hope we can skate by another year until we can get some. But we've got some traction with the Forest Service and this BIC group meetings that I'm starting to be involved with. I mean, with the current administration in there right now, we're in a good position.
Do you think we're too far behind? Like,
Yes.
Well, obviously, but money-wise, like, how do we ever catch up? Because it's going to cost a fortune to get these forests cleaned. You know that.
Well, but there's opportunity there, right? You're marketable timber.
Yeah.
And there's lots of markets for this timber. I think, but where we're struggling at, though, is over the last 30 years of lack of logging, you know, at one time, Eastern Oregon had 69 wood facilities in all of Eastern Oregon, Central Oregon, Eastern Oregon. We've lost 62 of those. And we just heard the other day that they shut down their last wood mill in Grant County last week. So now they're having to truck them logs to Pilot Rock or here in Union County, and fuel cost. Yeah. I mean, there used to be 3 mills in John Day, Prairie City, all that country down there. And Wallowa County used to have 2 or 3 mills, and we're just losing that opportunity. So we've lost some infrastructure there.
Yeah, and loggers generally, for the most part, cleaned up after themselves, and you know what I mean. And now you have all that just sitting there, and it's
well, and then
it's
you look
scary,
at,
dude.
If we could, you know, if we had a bolstering enough industry of logging, we'd have current loggers willing to reinvest in equipment and grow that to go harvest and know that they're going to get their bills paid and make a little money. Same with these mills. These mills could probably get started back up if they haven't been shut down for too long, knowing that there's going to be timber there to
there
mill.
has to be logs for them to mill.
As
right?
long as we can get it going, yeah. And then again, timber receipts goes back into our schools, our roads. So again, a lot of our issues come from public land management, and with us being 47 or 48% public lands, I mean that's a lot of revenue.
Yeah. Wow. Well, anything else you can think of that's like pressing on you? You want to talk to us about?
No, crop tour tomorrow.
Okay.
And
explain what crop tour is.
so the extension puts on the annual crop tour. They line out a bunch of stops. We all meet at Nutrient Ag. They're off of Highway 82 at 7:30 in the morning. There will be a brief introduction. They have buses, or you can drive yourself, and you just follow the tour. And they'll stop at some sites where you know, particular new kind of crops being grown. They'll discuss that. They've done some restoration work sites and discuss those. I know sometimes they get up into the forest and trees and discuss projects that they're working on up there. And then I think they're having lunch tomorrow at the White Barn Estate, which is new and big. And then, yeah, it's just a good time for ag producers to get together and see what's going on locally, as well as getting some agencies together, and then just private citizens that just want to see what's being grown in the valley this year, and because it's a hard time for farmers right now. I mean, them commodity prices, there's really not much out there right now that they can grow in this valley, and we can grow a lot of things
Right.
that can actually make any money this year.
Yeah.
Wheat's tough, you know. The only thing doing good right now is cattle.
Yeah. Cows. I was just gonna say that.
Yeah, I mean,
I went on the farm tour.
record
one time.
high prices.
Similar thing, right? The farm tour is
Yeah.
put on by the same people. When they take you around to all the, like we went out to that goat farm where, you know, the
Rovies.
Yeah,
the
Rovies. Yeah, that was
dairy.
kind of cool. You have to
Yeah.
wear the little boots when you go in the barn, and they were actually, what's it called when goats calve?
Kid.
They're kidding. Is that
Yeah.
kidding? Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were kidding while I was there. It was kind of fun. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you'd have to love
Is that
goats.
really what it is? Kidding? Kidding?
Oh my gosh! I mean, she'll have several hundred goats born within a short 2
Oh,
3
my
year
aunt had to
time
deliver
frame.
one. My aunt and uncle are sheep farm, for
Oh yeah.
50 years. And while we were there, one was stuck, and my aunt hopped over the fence and was, it was like her motherly instinct took over. She delivered the dang thing. It was pretty funny, actually.
No, and that's an amazing operation. A lot of people have no idea.
It's
Oh,
cool.
it's great to have it here too.
Yeah.
I mean, she's selling goat milk to a distributor that is reaching some far places and doing
No,
some good things.
that is a. I've tried to get her on the show before. Stephanie.
Yep.
Yeah, and her. I mean, it's a partnership. Yeah. For those of you that don't know, so the Rovies and her husband. Her husband grows he's the rancher or a farmer that does the feed part of feeding the goats. I mean, at least that's the last time I talked to them.
Yep.
Yeah. And they have 1,000 somewhere around there.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is a.
They have that big carousel
Yeah,
milker.
and it's all modernized equipment.
it's kinda cool.
Every milk producing ewe, are they ewes? What are they?
Does.
No, they're not.
Does?
They're does.
Okay, I mean they're tagged, so they know the output of every doe, and yeah, I mean it's an amazing thing. So
Any part of the dairy industry's really grabbed onto technology and has just run with it
well, you can't. I mean, yeah, you would have to.
for efficiencies.
Right.
The money you're saving off,
Well, and I mean, they can tell just by looking at the milk output, the health of a doe.
Yep.
I mean, and the nutrients. Are they getting fed correctly, or are they getting cared for, or I mean, it's a wild thing.
It's really interesting. Actually.
yeah, it'd be fun to ear her down and get her in this seat and just talk about her operation. Because
No.
like you say, I don't think the community realizes what we have as far as that kind of operation. But it's great to have that in the
Yeah, no,
in
and
the
once
county.
that building is, I don't know, 3 or 4 football lengths by the time I mean,
Yeah.
it's just a crazy thing. Yeah.
So there's your plug for that thing for tomorrow.
Yeah.
I urge people to go on those tours because
Yeah.
you learn a lot about this valley,
Yeah.
like that you don't know.
What are we growing
Seriously,
this year?
yeah,
wheat's
it's
in the
super
tank.
important.
Yeah.
I know a lot of guys are starting to grow little garbanzo beans, playing around with
Making
that.
some hummus.
And
You're turning into hippies now.
I've had some really good.
So am I. I'm not gonna lie. I never thought I would like it, but
Me neither.
I'll
Me
eat some
neither.
hummus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, and grass right now is tough.
grass seed. Yep.
Yeah. Because it's not selling. I mean, the last farmer I talked to is like, and you understand that more than I, but I mean, there's a glut of grass actually in the valley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I was just talking to a grass seed producer the other day, Saturday, and total acreage is down significantly, over half in the grass seed world in this county, just because that market is just not there for it.
Yeah.
And we grow some of the best
Right. Yeah.
grass seed in the world. I mean, we're big, but just the demand for grass seed right now is really taking a big hit.
Why, I wonder?
I have not a clue.
I mean, people are still.
I mean, it was hot and big after. I mean, everything was big post-COVID or during
Right,
COVID.
yeah.
Doing yard work and whatnot, and then I think there was a lot of money spent with some dollars there funded that expanded or new facilities, and so there was money to spend, and products like that really took off, and now we're kind of at a standstill.
Yeah. So, well, Jake, thank you for being here.
Yep.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, really appreciate it, and look forward to you coming every time and kind of filling us in. Good luck on your continued drinking from the fire hose and learning. Yeah,
Hasn't been too bad yet.
good. Well,
That's
we're
good.
glad you're there, and
Thank you.
glad that you're adding a new, fresh perspective to, because we always need that.
Oh, definitely.
The county needs that. Every administration needs a different perspective.
Yep.
So yeah, thanks so much, man.
Thank
Want to
you.
get us out of here?
Let's do it. On this day, June 17th, 1631, Mumtaz Mahal dies during childbirth. Her husband, Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan I, then spends more than 20 years building her tomb, the Taj Mahal. 1837 on this day, Charles Goodyear obtains his first rubber patent. And then, like 60 years later, in 1885, the Statue of Liberty arrives in New York from France. They invented rubber before we got the Statue of Liberty.
That's
1950 on this day in Chicago, the very first kidney transplant. And that's another thing. Like, we just started transplanting kidneys 75 years ago. It feels like it's, you know what I mean? They're so advanced now that it feels like it would have been a lot longer than that. 1988 on this day, Microsoft releases MS-DOS 4.0. 1994 on this day. Everybody was glued to the television on this day in 1994. You have any idea, anybody, why? Something was happening down in California. It was on the news.
O.J. Simpson.
O.J. Simpson, the white Bronco. On this day, yep, 1.5 hours live on TV.
Wow.
the slow
white
chase.
Bronco.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's so funny.
2008 on this day, the world electric speed record is broken in a Jaguar Vector V20 in a battery-powered boat, 88.61 miles per hour. That's pretty fast for a electric boat. Really,
Electric boat.
really fast for an electric boat. The #1 song in the country on this day 20 years ago in 2005, "We Belong Together" by Mariah Carey. And then the quote of the day comes from Khalil Gibran. "Yesterday is but today's memory, and tomorrow is today's dream." One more time. Yesterday is but today's memory, and tomorrow is today's dream.
All right. Good stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, well, thank you. Thanks for being with us today, Jake. Yeah.
Yeah.
So on Thursday, we're going to have the CASA people. Jill Finney will be here with us, and she'll be talking to us about the local CASA program, which is the program. You know how to describe that?
Yeah, it's people that advocate for youth in court.
Yep. So anyhow, be really interested to have that conversation with her. We'll see you soon.